Kreayshawn blew up overnight from one song in 2011 named Gucci Gucci. It was controversial at the time. People either absolutely loved it or absolutely hated it. She got signed to Sony Columbia with $1 million deal soon after this. This deal and what happened afterward ended up ruining her life, as she is currently over $700,000 in debt to this day. Kreayshawn originally was more into filming. She says she had a VHS camera when she was about 10 years old. She eventually messed around with iMovie and putting music behind footage. From there, she got into making music videos. She actually shot a video for Lil B, believe it or not. The name Kreayshawn was actually chosen because it sounded like creation. I know it sounds like I made that up, but I swear I did not make that up. Before her eventual rise to fame, she was selling drugs and helping run a Craigslist pimp ring. I swear I also did not make that up. I was driving it around in a pink Mustang at 2 in the morning, no license, with like 2 15s in the trunk serving knots. Then these girls I met, they were on their hustle too. They brought me this new idea. It was safer than selling drugs. I posted the links for them, took the anonymous pictures, and set up the dates and prices. Gucci Gucci was a song that put Kreayshawn on the map. It's a rather catchy song that was far ahead of its time. It mashes up influences from Memphis rap as well as dubstep and what could be described as what Lil Pump was doing, but 6 years before he did it, maybe a little bit different. Personally, I actually like this song. When I first heard it in 2011, I absolutely hated it though, so I don't blame people for not getting it at the time. I never made anything with the intention of signing a record deal. It was just for fun. The moment I realized I could get a record deal was when I got a record deal. I didn't see myself getting famous. A few months after this song came out, she signed $1 million deal with Sony. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with signing a record deal, you are getting an advance on the money that they give you, and it's all money that you have to pay back eventually. So if you don't sell enough records to pay back that money, you are still going to owe them that money. It's probably worth mentioning at this point that Gucci Gucci was written by somebody else, which kind of sets up a bad precedent for how her career is going to go from this point on. It was written by Speak, and he, to this day, never got a dime for his contributions. Make of that whatever you would like. As you can guess, this is a recipe for disaster. When the song that blew you up was written by somebody else, it sets up an expectation that you cannot live up to unless you get those people to write your song again, or unless you are able to write something of that caliber. She actually met up with what she claims was almost every record label before eventually settling with Sony. Whatever we end up choosing, it's going to be a well thought out decision, is what she said. This will become ironic later on. Her hit song was controversial for numerous reasons, one of which was that she was a white girl doing this particular song and music video. It had many people accusing her of pretending to be black. Clutch magazine was quoted as saying, "It's ironic how the white girl mimicking black culture has been viewed as quirky, cute, and interesting in the past, but sisters who fashionably rock bamboo earrings, gold nameplate necklaces, and blonde streaked weaves will inevitably be considered ghetto by society." There were quite a few people pissed about her success. One op-ed piece even had the title that she put on blackface. As far as I'm aware, she never actually put on blackface, but they meant metaphorically, I guess. She stated that the song was inspired by the cultural differences that she noticed between Oakland and Los Angeles and how LA was overly materialistic. There's definitely some criticism to be had about her rap persona. The one that stands out the most to me is the name Kreayshawn. It just sounds like an attempt at recreating a black woman's name. There may or may not be some truth to the allegations of her pretending to be black, but that is not what we are here to dissect today, especially since it can be difficult to analyze one person's intentions. There are articles also stating that her skin color was the reason why she got a record deal so fast. This is probably the truth, but I don't know if it is for the reasons people believe. My theory is that the combination of her skin color, small stature, and what she was doing and wearing in the video was shocking and controversial, making the number of views the video got exceedingly high, which in turn made her stand out more and led to a record deal. The first of many mistakes that Kreayshawn made was dissing basically everyone. And I do mean basically everyone, whether intentional or not. Keep in mind, this is someone who was not media trained and she was barely even trained at making music. Now, if I had to guess why, it could be because her label had her doing up to 20 interviews a day. Now, you may be asking yourself, how do you do 20 interviews a day? Well, it's simple. You drive from one interview to the next, and while you are en route, you do interviews on the phone. she accidentally dissed Nicki Minaj, and as you can guess, Nicki's fans strung her up in the street. What she had said originally was, honestly man, this is no disrespect to Nicki Minaj because she's got talent, she's got an image, but when it comes to inspiring young women, her message is to be a Barbie, to be plastic, to be fake, to all have blonde hair. Yeah, the Barbs did not like that. All her fans try to dress up like her, be her, do their hair like her, and you have Lady Gaga and she calls all her fans monsters and everyone be crazy. It's not about being like the artist that you're listening to. I think Nicki Minaj has the voice of the generation, but I'm not sure if it's the right voice. She ended up clarifying her comments in a following interview. I'm not hating on anybody, I'm not coming for anybody's neck. I say one thing about Nicki Minaj, and that's not a diss at all, and you have Nicki Minaj fans barking at me. I love Nicki's thing, she's an independent and powerful woman. This quote will age worse than milk. Then she ended up dissing Rick Ross, the rapper Rick Ross, not Freeway Rick Ross. She did a freestyle coincidentally over a Nicki Minaj beat, go figure, where she said the phrases, "You faker than Rick Ross." Then in a following live stream, she was quoted as saying, "Can Rick Ross even find his dick?" Then surprisingly, Rick Ross felt the need to respond, I guess because Kreayshawn was pretty big at the time. He said he couldn't wait to slap the out of whoever carries her bags and called her a little. So they were live streaming, and apparently she thought the live stream had ended when she said that.
Oh, the camera's on.
It was just me goofing off with my friends. I don't have any problems with Rick Ross, but I could see how it looks that way. Then she dissed Lana Del Rey. I know, this is a lot of dissing here. Basically just saying, what is this depressing I'm gonna slit my ankles. Now, this part is pretty interesting. She was in an N-word controversy, but it wasn't because of her saying it. Now, first thing you need to know about this is that she has a friend named V Nasty who looks extremely similar to her. And this girl was also a part of her rap group named White Girl Mob. I know, that's an insane name. I also did not make this up. V Nasty was also from a similar area, and V Nasty would use the N-word a lot. Just in common speech while rapping. Basically, it led to the confusion for casual listeners that Kreayshawn was the one actually doing this. Cray did clear it up in an interview, one of the many interviews, where she said she has never said that word once in her life. Even more controversies, she got hacked, basically her underage nudes got leaked. All of this happened the same day she was at the VMAs, where she was nominated for Best New Artist. Tyler, the Creator, ended up winning though. Interesting, maybe not a little known fact, but in her Gucci Gucci video, you can actually see quite a few members of Odd Future in the background. So there were numerous reasons for the failure of Kreayshawn's album. The first being it was released the following year as the single. The next being she was signed during a period where the traditional music industry was suffering. Keep in mind, this is during a period where traditional record sales were going towards an all-time low, as well as streaming starting to be the new meta. This is during a period before they started counting streams and YouTube views towards record sales. After they signed her, they realized at some point that there was no way they could push this album. They could not find a way to market something such as Gucci Gucci. Even though it was incredibly popular, for a mainstream audience, it didn't seem like it was something that could really take off. From her own words here, they tried to push her towards more of being a pop star. They signed her up for singing lessons,
No.
dance lessons,
No.
everything you could think of.
No.
And she was not into it. So they punished her. And what is the worst punishment of all? They put her album exclusively in Hot Topic. I'm not surprised if you thought Hot Topic only sold t-shirts. Now I'm talking about physical copies. Spotify did exist, but like I said, did not count until 2013. And worst of all, her contract was written around a traditional record deal. It's not even known if streams were counted toward paying back her advance. Now this album is pretty impressive in terms of features. Obviously it has her friend V Nasty on it. There's Kid Cudi on it, 2 Chainz, Diplo. As you can see, most of these songs do not have a lot of streams, at least a lot for somebody signed to Sony. Now, like I said, this is at a time where Spotify was relatively still being adopted, while her YouTube music video has 75 million streams, and I would take a wild guess that she was probably not monetized for a good portion of it. Now keep this in the back of your mind that she got signed for $1 million deal, meaning that they gave her a bunch of money and she's gonna have to pay that back, with her album only being sold exclusively in Hot Topic, and basically the record label saying, let's get her out of here. This album only sold 3,900 units. which is extremely low, especially for something from Sony. Hot Topic is a mall goth store, which I don't think too many people go to in order to buy records. Even if it was a popular store, having your album, which needs to make physical sales, in just one store is already bad. She also reportedly had very underwhelming live performances, which did not help the case of people potentially buying her album at the one place that it was sold. The next single from the album also dropped 11 months after the original single. A year following the album release, she actually got pregnant, and within 2 days of her announcing it on social media, her label dropped her, which it seems like there was no real uproar about at the time. I feel like if you did that nowadays, people would be going crazy about it on Twitter. She still continued to do music after this. She only did features from 2013 to 2016. Continued to do tours. Everything came out of her quote-unquote pocket at that point, all money that she had to pay back. In 2015, her bank account got seized by the IRS. She had an accountant named Kevin Foster, who was also an accountant for Neo and Brian McKnight.
So I had this accountant, his name was Kevin Foster. But he was stealing everyone's money.
Apparently, he was stealing everyone's money, and he ended up going to prison for it. Essentially, how the scheme worked is he would say to her he was filing her taxes and then charge her $20,000, $50,000, etc. for it. When you get paid by a label, it's your responsibility to file the taxes on that. You're an independent contractor. It's all your responsibility. He did not file her taxes once for $1 million deal. So basically, she ended up owing a shitload of money after this, and they seized her bank account with $350,000 in it. I'm gonna be honest, if this was me, I would have. So they basically wiped her bank account to $0 after this in 2015. The money she owed them did get taken care of in 2019. She ended up only having to pay $8,000 or something like that.
Actually, I got a tax attorney, and we literally just resolved this whole scenario like maybe a couple months ago.
There are quite a few things that have gone wrong with Kreayshawn's career, from the predatory record deal to the label trying to push her career towards that of a pop star and eventually only putting her music in Hot Topic. If there's anything you should take away from this, do not sign a deal with a major label. If you do decide to go that route though, you need to make sure you have leverage. If they don't need you as much as you need them, then something like this could potentially happen. I'm Weaver Beats, and until next time, don't sign a deal with a major label.
Bang Incorporated.